trip in the good old gospel ship.
We begin on the road, on a rural highway with the story of a journey.
Oh, I'm gonna shout and sing.
And before it's over, I hope you see why we traveled hundreds of miles across Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas to tell you about a woman who sat next to me on an airplane.
Sailing through the air.
When you've flown more than 2 million miles in coach, you sometimes get a chance to sit in first class.
Passenger picker.
You wait for your name to work its way up a list,
Passenger last name Lee.
and when it happens,
Passenger Larson, please recheck.
feels like you won the lottery.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So I was feeling good when I boarded American Airlines Flight 1015 Dallas to San Diego. I was in seat 5B. Next to me in 5A was Donna Hahn. She wore expensive jewelry, a woman of privilege, I thought. But as we flew across Texas, I learned I couldn't have been more wrong.
When I die, hallelujah, by night. My grandparents lived in a little home that had a tin roof on it. They were sharecropping.
Donna's family, her parents and grandparents, were like other poor sharecroppers from Arkansas, picking cotton on other people's land. They were the kind of poor that can take generations to overcome.
Hey, stranger.
So when she invited me to her family's reunion, I accepted.
I bet you didn't think I'd show up here, did you?
Well, I just think you're a brave soul.
The reunion was like others I'd been to,
This is brother and sister right here. And
at
that's
least until Donna and her sister
there she is.
began to sing.
Just a closer walk with thee.
It turns out their parents were run off their cotton fields.
And Jesus is my plea. There was just some unrest in that area, civil unrest. Walking close to thee.
Unrest. To learn more, we joined Donna and her sister Bonnie on a trip back to Arkansas.
Wow, look how big that church is.
Mercy sakes.
When you come back someplace as an adult, the perspective is so different.
What a day.
They hadn't been back since they were little girls, and the family had no addresses. They knew only that their parents had sharecropped with a black family. And the two families had been friends, working and living side by side in two small houses outside the little town of Dumas, Arkansas, which is where we found two abandoned houses at the edge of a cotton field. So could this be it?
Could be. I mean, I don't know if this is the exact cotton field or the place where my parents lived.
What they did know was what happened one night in 1957.
We had all gone to bed, and all of a sudden it was just so much noise and everything outside. It must have been maybe 15 men, and they were on horses, and they had the white sheets on them, and they were riding around and around our house, and they were carrying lighted torches.
The Ku Klux Klan was still a powerful local force here in the 50s. But would it have threatened a white family for being too close to a black family?
I had crosses burned in my yard.
We asked the mayor of the next town over, and she said, absolutely.
Does that story surprise you?
Not at all.
Not at
No, it doesn't.
It probably only lasted about 10 minutes at the most,
But it was enough.
and then they just rode off.
Donna's family packed the next morning and left their home in the cotton field. They moved to Louisiana, where their lives, believe it or not, got even harder.
I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden.
Donna's father was working in this gas station in the small town of Monroe, Louisiana, when a car crushed him against the back wall.
Because he jumped up, it caught him right at his legs and just crushed him from the legs down. What a day that will be.
In Arkansas, we came across this abandoned church. Back in its day, it was what whites called a colored church. Donna's father had once preached in such a church back in his sharecropping days, but then he backslid. He lost his faith. But now that he was paralyzed, he began preaching in small churches and tent show revivals across the South, which meant Donna was constantly moving.
All the way from Nebraska all the way down to the tip of Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas and I sang from the time I was 5 years old until I left in high school.
No more burdens to bear.
I would have to literally climb up on a chair so people could see me over the pulpit and sing.
Donna got married in high school, raised 2 daughters, but she was increasingly suffering from a genetic bone condition. Her knees would dislocate, her bones would break, requiring surgery after surgery.
He will take you on a trip that you cannot imagine.
Donna's pastor would visit after each procedure.
How many times do you think you've needed to go to the hospital?
In excess over the years of 30 times.
He holds the future.
And it was while she was recuperating from another surgery that her husband told her their 26-year marriage was over.
I remember thinking to myself, I have been totally rejected. And I remember thinking, I am really alone.
As we flew our last leg into San Diego, Donna told me despite her lifetime of upheavals, faith had kept her going. Donna went to college and graduate school. The reason she was in first class? She's now an international consultant, and you'll never guess what her specialty is.
A discipline called change management.
Change management.
Change management.
So your essentially your field of expertise is change?
Absolutely.
Change, that thing that happens to all of us, Donna says, when we're not looking.
Let me walk close to thee.
Donna did eventually find the land her grandparents had sharecropped. Their house had been torn down, their garden was gone.
This would have been exactly where the house was sitting.
Wow.
But the son of the farmer who owned the land remembered her family well.
They were poor. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they were as poor as it gets. They didn't have money, but what we don't have in money, we make up for in other ways.
My grandparents, my dad, my cousins, my uncles, all walked on this land.
So in the end, we wound up back where her family's story began. Back before the Klan, the revivals, and the broken bones.
And you come from such humble beginnings that makes you really grateful for what you have. Hats off to you, Grandma and Grandpa. I appreciate you.
On our way back to the airport, I felt I was seeing things through Donna's eyes. I saw changes all around us, and how hard and beautiful the whole thing is. That's another thing about flying coach. Sometimes it's more than just my seat that gets an upgrade.
That'll teach you to talk to somebody on an airplane.
I'm telling you. Trying to mind your own business. You end up in a cotton field in Arkansas.